is Colonel Paul Lockhart. How do you hear me?
I've got you loud and clear, Colonel Lockhart. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you so very much for joining me. I know my viewers today are going to be very excited to hear from you. This is my adventure roundtable, and we always like to invite guests and friends that can come in and talk about their lives. So to have you join me today is really a special event for me. So once again, thank you.
No, my pleasure. And I'm honored that you asked me.
Well, good. Well, I tell you, let me tell my viewers, all my friends out there, a little bit about how you and I know each other. And then I'll tell you about my viewers, and then we'll start having a discussion about our lives a bit. So for my friends out in the audience, I want them to know that you and I worked together quite a while ago, actually. We were both at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, I'm sure you recall, and we were helping the United States Air Force be the best that it could be. I'm sure you recall that, right?
Well, those were a lot of good times back then. I mean, getting to work with people you respected and had fun with, that's doesn't come around all the time. So to have that opportunity, it's a very special time in my life.
That's the exact way I feel about it. You and I worked together on some special projects, and I thought you and I had the same approach to many things. In other words, we knew that doing things with integrity and trying to do them the best that we could was important to the people that worked with us and so forth. So today, I want my friends out in the audience to learn more about you. And as I said, I have what I call my adventure wall here behind me, Dr. Williams. I hope you don't mind me calling you Brian. And
that's cool.
Is that good?
That's good. And I have my adventure wall behind me too.
I see that. That's a beautiful picture. I'm sure there's a lovely young girl that I should say hi to that drew that picture. So
she's probably watching.
I'm sure she is. So hi there. So up there, I think I have a picture of you from when we were in Florida at that time. So I'll have to show it to you in person sometime. But anyway, when I talk to my friends out in the audience, we try and use adventure to talk about those things, as I said, that I think are important for our youth, which is how do we learn to work as a team and to set goals and to work together and do this with the underlying character that's so important, to be honest and true, and many times to have the right courage to do the right thing. So let's begin talking about you, if you don't mind. Talk to me about the young Brian Williams as a boy. How would I know you from when you were young?
So when I was young, I should start off by saying that I'm an Air Force brat. My father was 23 years career Air Force enlisted. So that was my upbringing, moving around every few years, living on Air Force bases around the country and around the world. And also, meeting other kids that were doing the same thing I was doing. So that was my upbringing. But I was also an introvert as a child, and I still am an introvert as an adult. But what that meant was I enjoyed being by myself. I like to read a lot. I was really into science fiction books and fantasy books, cued into my music. But I started my circle of friends that I would socialize with. And I was good in school. I liked math and I liked science. And that put me kind of on a trajectory to do what I did, was go to the Air Force Academy and get a degree in engineering, which led me eventually to meeting you, Colonel Lockhart. But as a child, I made a lot of mistakes growing up. I wasn't perfect. So that's what I want your listeners to understand, that you don't have to be perfect, but nobody's perfect. But it's just understanding that when you fall down, you get back up. And that if you're doing things with integrity and trying to serve the greater good, that those are all learning opportunities. They're not failures or setbacks. Those are just redirections on opportunities for you to become a better person individually and a better person for society.
I like that term, serve the greater good, because that's a good outlook each day that somebody can take. Not only can they better themselves, but by serving the greater good, they can be the best person that they can be. So you talked about working at Eglin Air Force Base with me a bit. Can you talk about how that team cohesion and the projects you worked on helped you prepare yourself for later in life?
Yeah, so teamwork and camaraderie were extremely important for our success, for what we're trying to accomplish, but also for just the job satisfaction of going to work. And I mean, your viewers, they may experience that if they're maybe on a sports team, or if they play in a school band, or I don't know, cheerleading, or something, some kind of group activity that involves working together to achieve a common goal. Uh, you can understand how it feels when you're all having fun and just going out there to do your best. And that was similar to us, what we were doing at Eglin Air Force Base. Granted, we were working for the military and trying to doing our best to serve and protect the country. So the stakes may have been higher, but the lessons learned as a child about, treating your friends right and doing your best, they all served us well in the Air Force. And I learned a lot of that stuff that was actually solidified at the academy, going to the Air Force Academy and being put into that 4-year, I don't know, experiment, I wouldn't say, but just 4 years of intensity about working together. You all will succeed if you're working together. The individualism serves a purpose, but you have to be focused on a common goal, the greater good, and work together as a team. So we did that at Eglin as well. So we worked on some pretty complicated test projects that involved different levels of expertise, different knowledge bases. And I didn't know everything. Colonel Lockhart didn't know everything, but together, putting that together, working together as a team, we were able to accomplish a lot more. And that's a lesson I learned there, and I've tried to take that with me the rest of my life.
I couldn't agree more. And when I talk to students, and I say the same thing as you, young adults, you learn these skills when you play sports and when you're in a band or in theater or any sort of a group. So very glad to hear you had the same thing. So obviously you learned a lot, but I remember you talking back then, I want to be a doctor. Well, when did that start? How did that path begin? That adventure?
Yeah, that's unusual, because before I met you, Colonel Lockhart, it wasn't part of my plan to become a doctor. I was happy being an engineer, doing the stuff that we were doing. And during that time, I had a lot of people in my social circle that were in healthcare. They were nurses and doctors. So hanging out with them and hearing them talk about the work they did, I became interested in that field. And I decided that, yes, I want to change my career path to go into medicine. I thought it'd be a great way to serve humanity, to be a healer. I had this vision of what it meant to be a doctor and serving the greater good. And you're right, that was an adventure, because I was working full-time with you, and yet I had to prepare for the exams to get into medical school. So that took a lot of time management and commitment and dedication. But again, if you think something's important and it's something that you want to do, it does require some sacrifice. But the payoff is so much greater than anything you may give up on the path to your end goal. So I have no regrets about doing it. I certainly had to cut back on my socializing during that time, but it was all worth it. And now I'm here talking to you today, so definitely worth the trip.
Exactly, our paths cross again. I'm sure you had some doubts during that time frame. Here you were doing the full-time job and preparing for medical school. Did you ever have to dig deep and find that little bit of courage that said, okay, I can get ready for this test or whatever?
Oh, absolutely. Because I was on a great career path, as you know, and I wasn't unhappy with the work I was doing. I loved what I was doing. I really enjoyed who I was working with, and I was on a trajectory to go very far along that career path. So I had to stop and say to myself, okay, do I stay on this easy road? Not necessarily easy, but pretty much a guaranteed road to success if I continue that same pathway and trajectory, or do I stop, get off the path, and essentially start all over again, right? Because I had to go back to school and start from the beginning. So I had to dig deep. That took some courage to make that decision to leave the familiar, to not do the easy route, to decide, yes, I'm good at this, Will I be good at that? I don't know, but I will not know until I try. So at least if I tried and failed, I can say that I actually did it, as opposed to not taking the chance in the first place. And that's part of what courage is just taking that chance, taking that leap. And even if you fall down, recognize that you can still get back up and achieve greater things.
Oh, I very much agree. And I'm getting all excited listening to you talk right now because we each make those decisions every day to a lesser degree, but every so often, even in a big degree, do I want to continue in music or do I want to play this sport? And you're right, the hard decisions require courage. So, well, this is a great lead into the next question. Let's fast forward now. You've gone through all of your training. You are a trauma surgeon and you're in Dallas, and then that fateful day in 2016 comes up. And had you and I talked when we were together back in Florida that we would be thrown into circumstances, especially you like this, that you'll describe, I would have never thought it, but here's what life did to you. Can you describe that time for us?
Yeah, so you're referring to the July 2016
Yes.
shooting where several police officers, 5 police officers were killed in Dallas.
Yes.
And as I'm sure your viewers know, police officers serve a very special role in society. Colonel Lockhart, you were in the military and an astronaut, you've worn a uniform, a couple uniforms. I was in the military, I've worn a uniform. So I respect anyone that wears a uniform and serves. And there was a lot of disagreement amongst adults about policing and how to treat people of different colors and different races. And that kind of led to that tragedy.
And a tragedy it was. Yeah.
Right. So someone shot 5 police officers, shot several police officers, but 5 of them died. I became involved because, I'm a doctor, but I'm a trauma surgeon. And trauma surgeons take care of people who get injured. So if maybe you're riding your bicycle and fall down and break a bone, I would take care of you. If you're in a car accident and get hurt, I would take care of you. But some of the worst stuff I take care of is people who are really injured from getting shot by guns, or maybe they're stabbed. That's what I'm trained to take care of and ensure people don't die from that. So the night that the police officers were shot, I was also the trauma surgeon at the hospital that they were brought to, and working with the team that night that tried to save these officers. We could not save them all. Some we did, but we could not save all of the officers that evening. And you mentioned that this being a huge deal or a big event in my life, it was because there was so much going on, kind of like what you're experiencing right now with there's a coronavirus, and then there's protests, and I'm sure you're seeing all these things in the news, and it's impacting you. There's a similar thing a few years ago, except I found myself in the middle of all this, trying to decide what am I going to do about this, because you can easily tell yourself that I can't have any impact. It's too big of an issue for me, or I don't have the knowledge. Nobody cares what I have to say. And I thought those exact things myself. I said, this is bigger than me. There's nothing I can do about it. Just focus on my job. But I decided that I had to do something more than just being a doctor. And there was so much wrong about what had happened that day that the least I could do was speak up and say that this is wrong and here is why. And even though I was scared to death when I spoke, I thought for sure I was going to get fired because nobody would want to hear what I had to say. But I did speak and people listened. And I was surprised at how much impact that had. So sometimes you may think that what you say is not important or what you feel is not important. That's not true. There's probably at least one other person out there that thinks the same way you do and feels the same way you do. But you just need to have the courage to be the person to speak up. And when you do speak, you have no idea how much impact that can have, because when I spoke, that went around the world. It became a major news event. I received emails and letters and texts, and I've lost count. Even to this day, people will still say, thank you for speaking up. And the basis of speaking up, like this is wrong. We need to do something about it. You can do that every single day.
So I think that when I watched your interview, which is still available, the word that comes to my mind again is the courage it took for you to reach down deep inside and express your views and do so in such a well thought out and passionate plea. So I'm very proud to have known you and to have at least hopefully have been a small part of your life back many years ago in Florida, and now to see how strongly you're influencing other people, including the young adults that are with us today, just couldn't make me more proud. So, well, obviously,
thanks, Paco.
Well, you're quite welcome. So obviously you told me your life has changed a lot since that night. And I'm sure that it's a flurry of activities. What are some of the highlights that have happened to you since then? Obviously your family, of course, and I hope to meet them someday. But also tell me some of your other events.
Well, since that interview, which I would say it was an interview of not just me, it was multiple people that were there, but I was the one, I said something and that stood out. So another lesson there is you may think nobody cares what you have to say, but until you say it, you will never know. But since then, I've had the honor of being able to speak to thousands of people around the world, traveling to speak, doing webinars like this from all ages, from elementary school kids, high school, college, adults. It just spans the gamut of ages. It spans the gamut of races and ethnicities. It's because this issue of wanting to be accepted and wanting to spread, love and peace and a community, that is universal, right? Anyone can feel how that's important. So even though when I spoke, I was talking about violence and racial intolerance and how that's impacting the world, people understand the need for wanting to have peace, wanting to have a world that's better for their children, wanting to just be safe and healthy and happy. So I've had the opportunity to spread that sort of message with my story, and it's changed me because I told you before, Paco, I'm an introvert, right?
Right.
I don't like to be bothered. I was a very private person. I didn't want to share any parts of myself with anybody except for like a very small group of people. But I don't do that anymore. Now I'm more open as far as talking about my story. But I'm still an introvert, right? I just accepted that this is important, and I recognize that I can have positive impact on the world if I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone and recognize that, yeah, I may be different in these different ways, but these differences that I have in my thoughts and my experiences was what makes me special, and what makes me gives me opportunity to have impact on others. So that is the tremendous change personally for me since that day, but also how I feel I can better serve humanity, even though as a doctor, I do a lot. I think I could even do more just by going out there and talking to people.
Well, it's obviously a gift that you have, and we're the better for it, even though you consider yourself an introvert, with your wonderful laugh that my family knows, and your flashing eyes and beautiful smile. We know that there's a lot to you, so we're really pleased that you share that. There's obviously a group of folks, young folks, I would think, that are interested in perhaps following in what you do. Maybe to become, as you said, a surgeon, but to maybe serve the greater good and so forth. Would you, in a sense, have any thoughts as to what you would tell them if someone came up to you, like they do me? How do I become an astronaut? If somebody came up to you and said, how do I become someone like yourself? What would you say?
Well, if you want to become a doctor, I would say that your schoolwork is important. Okay, doing well in school is important. That's an easy go-to answer. But also, I think the more important part is that you really have to want to serve people. You want to make other people's lives better, because in doing so, that uplifts you as well. Because there's a lot of sacrifice involved, and you have to sometimes take the focus off of yourself. And when you have people that are before you that are sick, and they have nowhere else to go, and they come to you, then you have to like look at them and say, what can I do for this person? And you can do that not just becoming a doctor. You can apply that pretty much in almost all areas of your life, is just thinking about what can I do to serve the greater good. Because in doing so, I assure you that you will get a lot out of it. You will get a lot of it in return. You may not recognize it at the time, but it is well worth it. And I spent a lot of time in my life like chasing all the different degrees and all the different awards, and it's working to achieve. And it's allowed me to do a lot of things, but also recognize that all that is meaningless without people around you that really don't care that I'm a doctor, right? You know, my wife and daughter, if I took off my white coat, like, they would still love me. My parents, the same thing. So you want to be able to have that sort of impact on the world, not because of what you do, but in spite of it.
Very good. So unselfishness, you bring out, obviously, because as you said, you can't focus on yourself to have the greater good impact. And that's obviously something that you've done throughout your career, your life, in fact. So being unselfish and having integrity, honor, these things are strong character traits. How important do you think to our youth is it to know that these traits are important to them as they go forward?
I think character and honor or integrity are extremely important, because that is essentially your currency when you're not in the room. This is what people say about you when you're not around. It's like, you know, that Colonel Lockhart, you know, you can trust him. He not only is he good at what he does, but he will look out for you and do what's best for the team or for you. Or but in saying that, we recognize that no one is perfect. And there are a lot of people out there, including myself, that have not been perfect, but you still try to do what's best for humanity. There's flawed people that do a lot of good things. So if we focus on what it is you can do for humanity and not what you have done wrong, and just keep focusing on that as you move forward, then recognizing that your character and your integrity and your honor will carry the day. And do not sacrifice that, because once it's sacrificed, it's hard to get back. But if you can focus on those things more so than the grades and your bank account, then you will go far.
Oh, that's excellent. Well spoken. And I agree. For our youth, you know, you may stumble, but if you have your character, your honor, your integrity, you'll continue to move forward. I like that term currency too, when you're not in the room. So I'd like to quote you on that in the future. That was well said. So what's the next big challenge then for Dr. Brian Williams going forward? Obviously you have a wonderful family and you're going to, spend time with them and so forth. And hopefully you and your family have lots of plans to do things together, which I'm sure you do. What personally, though, sits out on the horizon for you?
Well, Colonel Lockhart, I have some long-term goals and short-term. So right now, we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and I'm a trauma surgeon in a city that really needs trauma surgeons. So on the day-to-day, I'm pretty busy doing that work as a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have these grand ambitions to really. Well, you know, I had my application and I never finished my application. You were telling me to get it done, and I never did it. I think my window is closed. So that's another lesson. Follow through on your what you want to do, or your dreams may slip away.
Write a book, perhaps, or what is a passion of yours that you'd like to undertake? Anything special?
Yeah, so I want to do the work I can to help create a just society, and I cannot do that alone. It's going to take a lot of, like your viewers out there. That what can we do to help uplift humanity? to celebrate our differences. For in a country like America that has all these ideals, how do we manifest those ideals for everyone, regardless of where they've come from, regardless of what they look like or how much money they have? So what role do I play in that? And it's, you know, by touching people one at a time, and you somehow at some point you create critical mass to make a difference. Writing a book, I actually have several books in mind that I want to write. And yeah, so someday I want to call myself an author. But in the end, I just want to be a change agent, someone that every day when I wake up, no matter what I'm doing, it's somehow contributing to the greater good of society, whether that is at work, whether that is, you know, when I'm socializing with my friends. It's all interrelated. It's all connected. I don't have to separate my job from what my main goal is to do. Is that when I leave Earth, hopefully that when I leave, that I've left society, the world, in a little bit of a better place it was than when I came on here. So just that much, and that involves just keeping it going out there, telling the story, and thinking about the greater good and not myself.
I like the way you keep echoing the greater good. That's wonderful. Well, knowing that I'm sure, in fact, I know it, that you're a great husband and a great father to your daughter. And like I said, I certainly hope and look forward to the chance to meet them sometime. Let's finish this up, because I know you're really busy today, and I appreciate all the time. And all of us receive advice as we go through life. You know, we receive pieces of information from people that were mentors to us and our parents and others. Is there a piece of advice that you received during your career, whether it was the Air Force or whether it was just in playing sports or with your family, that you thought was significant to you and that you would like to perhaps pass on to this audience here today, the youth that are like looking going forward in this time of the COVID-19 and the other events that are occurring? What sticks in your mind that you'd like to pass on?
There's so much advice I received, Paco, that I didn't listen to. I wish I could go back in time and listen to a lot of the good advice I was given.
Yeah, turn in that application.
Exactly, that's one of them. But one piece that sticks out is advice I received for the last couple of years. It's from my wife, who said it's not about you, it's about them.
Yes.
So what that means, and I think it's important for youth as well, is that no matter what people say, what people do, how you feel, that is not a reflection of you or who you are at your core, or not a reflection of your worth. That is about them. They are missing something. You cannot control that. All you can control is like, how will you react to that? Okay. Sure. And those people are probably hurting. If you can just show some compassion, that would be probably the best course of action. Now, also, you can control your circumstances too. So you don't have to surround yourself with people that do not bring positive energy into your life. You can control that as well. But it's never about you. It is never, ever about you. You're perfect the way you are. All the things that you think need to be improved, they're good.
Right.
So do not let anybody make you feel any less than what you already are. Very
true. And in terms of positive energy, you've got enough of it so that I hope you can spread it around to others. I know I could use some of it too all the time. So, well, you haven't changed in the ensuing, I could say years, but I'd have to even put decades on that since together. But I know I have a few more gray hairs. You look the same, so good on you. You're obviously staying fit.
Just gotta shave your head, Paco. Shave your head, you'll look good. Nobody will know.
No one will know. But I wanted to tell you at the end of this, what an honor it is to have had you here for these 30 minutes or so. I couldn't think of a better way to start this adventure roundtable than to speak to you. I hope you will let me at some point return the favor, and together maybe we have a chance to come together and, as you say, do the greater good. And my thanks to you for reminding me that it's not about me. It's about the folks that are out there and people like you.
Exactly. And I want to let your viewers know, Paco, that if they want to learn any more about medicine or anything, they can just go to my website and they send me an email, and I will get back to you.
I'm sure you will.
BrianWilliamsMD.com.
It's a wonderful website. I'll make sure it's posted on mine. And perhaps, like I said, we can find a way to do some good together in the future. So get back to your work. You already gave too much of your precious time to us, and
No,
wish you all the best.
it was a pleasure.
We'll see you again in a few decades, maybe, but hopefully it'll be
sooner than that. Sooner than that, Colonel. Sooner than that, Colonel.
All right. Well, you take good care. Thank you so very much, and I appreciate that. And God bless.
Thank you very much. Everybody take care. Stay safe. Stay safe.
All right. And we'll mute you and shut you off video here. So thank you again, Dr. Williams. Bye now. So, all right.
That was awesome. You're good, man. You're good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, in case I still have my audience up, and I'm not real sure, I don't know what to tell you other than that was a really good session. In fact, I could have spent another 30 minutes with Dr. Williams. I could have spent 3 hours with Dr. Williams. I mean, what are some of the highlights that I picked out of that? First of all, that your character, your integrity, your willingness to be honest and things, that's your currency. You know, currency is like money that you have in your wallet. And it's your currency when you're not in the room. It's what people say about you. And his thought-provoking comment right then, I thought was excellent. So I like that. The closing bit about it's not about you, that's so true. You know, you've got to be thinking of the others. But as he said, make sure you surround yourself with positive people. And that's really important too. If you stumble, your character, your honesty, your integrity, your courage is going to be there to help you pick yourself back up and move forward. So I've got a few more minutes with you all because we set this up to talk for about 45 minutes. And so what I thought I would do in the last little bit, I'm still so excited about having spoken to Dr. Williams. I thought I would just pull up a couple things off my adventure wall right here and show them to you. The first thing I'm going to show you right here, can you see that? That is my class patch for my astronaut class of 1996. So that was the group 16. So what are you looking at right here? Well, first of all, we had a lot of international students that were part of our class. So I'm trying to pull my little pin right here so you can see the various flags around from the international students that were in our class. And then you can see the Earth. And I'm looking at this backwards, so hopefully I get this right. And then you can see the Roman numeral 16. So we were class 16. We were the 16th class of astronauts. And we had some pretty special astronauts in our class. You can read a lot about them. Oh, and of course, we got the two astronauts, Doug Hurley and Dr. Bob Binkin, which are up at the space station right now, just having launched on the SpaceX a couple of weeks ago. Wasn't that exciting? They did such a great job. I'm really proud of those guys. And then you can see here the Earth underneath, and then we have the Moon and Mars. I think that's, yep, here's the Moon and Mars. And it was our hope in my class that we would have somebody from our class be part of the group that went back to the Moon and then on to Mars. But it wasn't to be. So maybe that's going to be you. As I always like to say, there's a group of astronauts that are out, or young folks such as yourself. You all might be the ones that are going to be the ones that go to the Moon and Mars. See the 7 stars that are right there? Those are on all the patches that the astronauts have because they represent the first 7 astronauts, the group of 7. And what do we have over here? Oh, yes, over here you have the space shuttle and the space station because that's what our class was brought to do, which was to build the space station and then live on it. I also wanted to show you this picture. This is one of my most favorite pictures right here. This is not from the space shuttle. I don't think I've shown this to you yet. Hopefully you can see it. I'll try not to have the glare. This is taken from the Cassini space probe, which was launched, I think, in the early 2000s. And it went and visited the outer gas planets. And this is a picture from Saturn. And of course, you can tell by the rings that are there. The part that I want to point to, boy, it's hard to see. Let's see if I can put my finger on it right here. See that little dot that's right there? See if I can get it up in there. There's a little blue dot sitting right there. You know what that little blue dot is? That's you. That's the Earth seen from the Cassini space probe as it flew around Saturn, and it pointed its cameras back this direction, and the sun was in the perfect position. And you know what's unique about that little dot there? It's blue. Well, I mean, even from that distance, the fact that the Earth is mostly water from the seas and the ocean stands out, and it's blue. It's the, again, as I always say, when you look out in space, space is so dark, yet the Earth is so beautiful and majestic because of the colors that it has and the blue that's there. And that kind of goes with what Dr. Brian Williams was saying, right? We all want to do the greater good. We live in such a beautiful planet, and the United States is such an opportunity for us to become a place where we can all have opportunity to grow. I also wanted to show you, this is my personal little crew notebook. And I don't think I've shown this to you yet either. This is my crew notebook from one of my flights. I know that it looks like nothing special here, but all of the astronauts that were on that flight signed it right through here. But what I thought I would show you right here are all my personal notes that I took on flight. So that way I can go back and read what really happened. And even though we had checklists to do all of the work in space, I made my own specialized checklist. And so right here, you can see these are little diagrams of astronauts in their spacesuits. And it was my job to suit them up so they could go do their spacewalks. And I wanted to make sure that I did it right. And as you can see, I set little pictures of each one of them, and then I drew little color pictures how each one of the astronauts wanted to be tethered up with their oxygen hose and other communication hoses and things of this nature. So I made sure that I did the job right. You know, much like what Dr. Williams said when we did our testing in Florida, when we were trying to support the Air Force, we always checked and double checked and made sure everything we did right. Did you know that Dr. Williams said that he tried to come down and see my first launch and it was delayed? Guess what? By weather, and we missed it. We were up there for a 2-week delay, so he didn't get to see that launch. Now, I also have a picture right here. I wanted to just show this to you. I found this on my adventure wall. I love airplanes, as you can see. And let me see if I can get this where the glare is not too bad. Okay, so this first airplane over here, that's the Spirit of St. Louis. You know where this is from? This is in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum here in Washington, D.C. So that's the Spirit of St. Louis. That is the airplane that Charles Lindbergh used to fly eastward from the United States across the Atlantic Ocean and land in France. And it was the first solo crossing of the Atlantic Ocean in an airplane. He became a folk hero when that happened. Well, you can imagine, right? Took a lot of what? Courage, backed by the planning and the testing and getting ready. And then, of course, the focus to make sure he flew the plane right. But most of all, it took a lot of courage for somebody to go fly over that cold Atlantic Ocean solo, first time in an airplane, and knowing that it had never been done before. Then here's another first right through here. See that orange airplane right there? Yeah, that's the Bell X-1. That's the plane that first broke the sound barrier with Chuck Yeager. I think that was 1947 or 49. So breaking the sound barrier means that the airplane for the first time flew faster than the speed of sound. And that speed varies according to temperature and altitude, but it's pretty fast. But this is when we first learned how to make the wings be a special shape so that the aircraft could push through the air more smoothly and allow the thrust from the engine to accelerate it past the speed of sound. So what does that mean is you get a sonic boom when you break the sound barrier, right? Because you're going faster than the air molecules can get away from you in front of the airplane. And that leads to this aircraft right here, which is Spaceship One. And this is from Scaled Composites. It's from a manufacturer, a developer of experimental aircraft in California. I think they since belong to another company, but Spaceship One is one of the first aircraft that was developed to carry people like you and me to the fringes of space and then come back down and land. So you don't go into orbit like the space shuttle, and you don't go into deep space like the Cassini spacecraft did, but you're going to fly this big arc and go up close to the fringes of space right through here. And notice the same shape right through there. It's got the same kind of nose as did the Bell X-1. And that's a heck of a lot different from the Spirit of St. Louis, which has the propeller. And this plane's not meant to really go fast. We didn't have the technology or the understanding this, but this spacecraft and variations, the follow-ons to this, are now undergoing further testing to carry people such as you and me up to the fringes of space. And we're going to get there someday pretty soon where people are going to actually take trips. So, my gosh, we're already coming up to the end of another really good adventure roundtable. So where are we? You know, I'm writing that book. I've got 3 chapters out there. I really need you all to start sending me some thumbs up on Facebook, whether you like the chapters, whether you like the characters. I think the next time we have an adventure roundtable, I'm going to introduce the characters, and I need to know whether you think they're good, right? The ones that I've introduced so far. And then we're going to continue releasing chapters. And then, as I said, I'm looking for some of my friends out there to help me finish out writing the book. And then who knows what's going to happen? Maybe we'll release it out there on the internet and people will enjoy it, and we'll pass it around. And we can say that it's been written by an astronaut and some of his friends. So, and we also have to have some art in there too. So if your main interest is in illustration and drawing pictures, I'm going to need some of that as well. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this time on my adventure roundtable with my adventure wall. There's some more things that I can show you going forward, but I think I'll save that for the next time. I'm going to wish you all the very best. You know, I released a couple of writings to say, don't be fearful during this time period. Make sure you talk to your family and your friends. I know it's difficult to understand everything that's going on with the pandemic and with all the unrest that you see on television, but I think Dr. Williams summed it up so very well. Take care of yourself. Make sure you work with you and speak to your family, include your friends in your discussions, and realize that we're all going to come out and be a better people for all this. And as so long as we've got folks such as Dr. Brian Williams, who's out there trying to do the better good, and you out there trying to make sure that you're the best that you can be, well, then, my gosh, we're all going to create a better earth for us to live on as we go forward, and especially a beautiful earth like this one that I showed right through here. So thank you all very much. I hope that you all have a safe weekend, and stay tuned for my next guest on the Adventure Roundtable. I've got a special person lined up too that I think you'll be very interested in listening to because she has a special story to tell too. All right, everybody, take good care. This is Colonel Lockhart signing off. Over and out. Goodbye.